Good morning, Washington. Welcome to beautiful Spokane, Washington. It is an outstanding fall day to be in the Inland Empire. It's a great day to be in Spokane and talk about women and innovation and leadership in the manufacturing sector today. This is a region home to 5 education institutions who are working every day to build the workforce of tomorrow. And today we're coming to you live from the newest state-of-the-art building in the Inland Empire, the Catalyst Building, brought to you by Avista. It's a bold experiment for sustainable development right here in the heart of Spokane. This is just one piece of the 5 smartest blocks in the world, an ambitious project by Avista to create a future energy model to serve a number of buildings over a 5-block period. And we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that later on today. The Spokane region is home to nearly 600 manufacturers who employ just under 14,000 men and women who go to work every day in the Inland Empire to build the products that we all use in our everyday life. With an average compensation wage in Spokane County of $58,000 a year, these are good family wage jobs. Today we're here to celebrate Manufacturing Week, and AWB's annual celebration of manufacturers and the celebration of Washington makers. AWB is proud to serve as the state's manufacturing association. Manufacturing is essential to Washington's success. It's essential to our economy, it's essential to the Spokane region, and it's essential to our everyday way of life. And it's going to lead an essential activity as we think about recovering in our economy. Today is day 2 of our 6-show series where we explore the many great manufacturing stories all across Washington state. Today's focus is innovation and women in manufacturing, leading and inspiring the next generation of our workforce. Today we're going to talk with leaders from the manufacturing sector who can help us address the opportunity gap and find important solutions. Opportunities are abound for careers in the manufacturer. In fact, more than 4 million jobs need to be filled in just the next 8 years, whether it's from management and engineering to information technology, machining, and so much more. And these are good family wage jobs that open up career opportunities to support strong communities and strong families. Boy, do we have a great lineup of Spokane speakers today. From Dennis Vermillion, the president and CEO of Avista, to Dr. David May, president of Eastern Washington University, a panel of outstanding women entrepreneurs in Allison Budvarson, Rachel Camarillo, Erica Nest, and Felicia Bowen, just a few of the dynamic women leaders in our state's manufacturing sector. And we're going to announce the first of our 2020 Manufacturing of Excellence Award, this one in innovation, celebrating the amazing companies like Carbitex, Humming Hemp, and Novalex. And we'll be joined by Congresswoman Kathy McMorris Rogers, Washington State Senate Majority Leader Andy Billig as well. But before we get started, let me take a moment to share that today's programming is made possible by our great friends and partners at Premera Blue Cross, who are the 2020 presenting sponsor. Premera is investing over $250 million to improve access to care, combat homelessness, and support programs that address behavioral and mental health issues in our communities. No matter where you are, like us, we're all in your corner. Now on to the show. Let's get started with a short video that tells us about our location here today in the state-of-the-art building called the Catalyst Project.
You know, the magic of catalyzing something is you never really know what's going to happen. When we started dreaming about the Catalyst building, quite frankly, I never doubted once we couldn't pull this off. When the pedestrian bridge we knew was being built and Avista had the land where the bridge was going to be, we had a chance to do something so bold, so dynamic for the region, to really change the energy future if we did it right. So let's just not have it be smart city meets smart grid meets smart building, but let's make the 5 smartest blocks in the world. It's not going to be a green sustainable building, and it's going to be the greenest, the most sustainable building in North America. We are going to create an energy district unlike anything created in North America.
One of the exciting things about South Landing and Catalyst and the Morris Center is that if you set a bold enough vision, then you have to innovate to achieve it.
And that's why finding Dean Allen and the McHistory team was so important. To have the right partner to build this wonderful facility and to really dream with us about what could be.
We thought if we were going to be an owner and a developer of a building, then this building had to be the best building ever. Yet we couldn't pay more. You know, we had to figure out how to do it in a way that you could afford it.
It had to be made out of material that nobody else really had thought about using on scale from a commercial perspective before. And the Katerra folks stepped up and said yes.
With Katerra's innovation around their CLT factory and their prefabrication and manufactured approach, we were able to afford the mass timber CLT structure at about the same price that you would have for concrete and steel.
And then it was really to find the tenant. And it says a lot about the kind of school Eastern Washington University is. To have that type of leadership, that type of passion, to be in a building like this.
Everybody was committed to the same outcome. And that kind of collaboration and sort of shared vision, you know, is really how amazing things get done.
If we're going to meet our green vision for the country over the next 100 years, it's going to take the same bold things that we did at the turn of the 20th century to make that happen.
And so when we're doing this building, we're trying to invent the future of utilities and of energy and of how buildings play nice with the grid and the grid plays nice with buildings by sort of inventing this neighborhood energy sharing idea we call an eco-district.
If we're really going to get to this clean energy future in a way that's affordable for everyone, it's going to be the research and really the magic that happens with the McKinstry engineers, the Avista engineers, and the other engineers and scientists that want to join us, thinking about that clean energy future right here in Spokane. That's what it's going to take to draw some of the best and the brightest companies to come to Spokane. We want more partners. We want more best thinking.
I love the notion that this building will get copied and that the things that we have done here will get copied.
There's a lot of people that have their fingerprints, their vision, their heart in this development. And I want to say thank you because you have made something so special. And it's a legacy for this community.
Welcome on back, everyone. What a great story this really is. I actually remember being here for the groundbreaking announcement, what seems only like 16 months ago. And today we're fortunate to have the president and CEO of Avista with us, Dennis. Dennis, welcome on into Manufacturing Week Live. You're our first guest of today's episode.
Well, thank you, Chris. It's a great pleasure to join you today.
Hey, Dennis, do me a favor. Talk about what is this 5 Smartest Block effort that we've heard so much about. This is really another example, I think, of Avista's leadership to create something really special in the heart of the Inland Northwest.
Well, I think the video, which is terrific, does a really nice job of highlighting the Catalyst project, the Eco District, and all the work that we're doing at the South Landing of Spokane's University District. And Chris, as you know, Avista has a long, rich history of innovation. It's in our DNA, stretching back to the company's origin 131 years ago. So this is just one of the latest examples of Avista's innovation in action. So real quickly, and it will take more time probably, but we know that in order for our company to meet our clean energy goals going forward, as a company and really as a society, in addition to the renewable energy and new storage technologies, and of course our continuing commitment to conservation and energy efficiency, we know that it's going to take an all of the above approach that includes the innovation in the Catalyst building and the Eco District and the 5 Smartest Blocks. So what we did, Avista, we donated the land to make it happen. We partnered with some of the best minds to create the vision around this 5 Smartest Blocks to serve as a model for transformative, sustainable development now and in the future. So the idea was to create this real world model for sustainable, efficient, and forward-looking development in which smart buildings are deeply integrated with the grid and talk to one another to better manage demand while leveraging renewable energy generation that's on site and storage that's on site in those buildings during peak loads. And in the adjacent to Catalyst, in the video you saw another building, the recently opened Scott Morris Center for Energy Innovation. So those two buildings were designed to test this innovative new shared energy economy, the eco-district model. So ultimately, the 5 smartest blocks, as we build this out, with more buildings coming in, could lead to a more affordable, sustainable, clean energy future. And so that's the idea behind it, Chris. We're really excited about it. My colleague, Heather Rosentrader, I think is going to join me in a moment, or join after me, and she'll have more information to share. And you'll see why this is so exciting for us and for Spokane.
This truly is an amazing facility, Dennis, and you talked about being a technology leader. You've also been a big economic development leader. Can you talk a little bit about those core mission and values of why you've helped build such a strong, dynamic Spokane region and inland Northwest region?
Well, yeah, I mean, sure, you're right, Chris. Avista, for as long as I've been around and throughout our 131 years now, has been instrumental in spurring economic development all across our service territory. So not just in Spokane, but all the areas that we serve in eastern Washington and North Idaho. You know, obviously the economic health of the communities that we serve and the communities we live in, right? And it's the communities we raise families in, and we have great interest in that, as do many of the stakeholders that share Spokane and eastern Washington as home. So in addition to the broad roles in local economic development entities like GSI, been engaged in GSI heavily for years and years and years, and there's others as well. We've also provided both funding and people to support innovation efforts in Spokane and North Idaho, and even in our Oregon service areas as well. We manage a pre-seed venture fund in Spokane to bring access to capital and mentoring to entrepreneurs. And then, of course, as you've already seen today, most recently we've led the real estate development in the South University District. So the Catalyst building, and this is a great example of the things that we've done over the history of our company. The Catalyst building has ignited over $100 million in development in the east end of the city, with more projects coming online in the next 2 years. You know, then I could go on and talk about education and the importance of education in K-12, to that. Eastern Washington University as a tenant, anchor tenant in Catalyst is a great example of that. Downtown Spokane, the health and vibrancy, really seen a rebound. It's really exciting. Health and well-being of our rural communities as well. I could go on and on. It really is an exciting time to be in Spokane, Chris.
Well, Dennis, I think about the Riverfront Landing Park. I think about STEM education. I think about Valley Tech. I think about the University District. I think about companies like Itron and others that are in this presence. They all have a common nexus. That's Avista. So thank you for joining us this morning. What a great story. We're looking forward to exploring more of this facility today. If you've got a spare one, we wouldn't mind taking it back with us to Olympia.
Okay, send it your way.
Thank you, Dennis. Thanks for joining us. Well, next up, we have another one of the Avista leaders joining us this morning, and that's Heather Rosentrader, Avista's Senior Vice President for Energy Delivery and Shared Services. Heather is a registered professional engineer and holds a Bachelor of Science degree from the building just outside our windows here at Gonzaga University. So we have some Go Cougs, we have some Go Zags, so maybe we'll talk a little bit about Gonzaga basketball if we have time left here today. But hey, let's start with the basics, Heather. What is smart grid? Tell us about how this is all connected and what does it mean?
Absolutely. So from a technical perspective, and I know those involved in manufacturing are very familiar with the aspects of it, with sensors and metering and automation and intelligence all working together to intelligently operate the system in a more real-time and informed way than has been possible in the past. And although those kinds of aspects are really exciting to other engineers and people involved with manufacturing, what excites many about smart grid outside of that is what it enables. So it enables us to operate our grid more efficiently, more safely, more reliably for our customers, as well as changing the customer experience for them and doing all of that in a more affordable way.
Tell us a little bit about, Avista's always been on the front end of research and development. It really has. It's a great leader in there. Can you talk to us a little bit about what research and development looks like and the new technology that might be coming down the road?
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, Avista has a legacy of innovation and regularly looks at what kinds of new technology and best practices are out there to be able to meet our strategies. And recently we have a strategy related to clean electricity for our customers. We plan to provide carbon neutral electricity for our customers by 2027 and carbon free electricity by 2045. And to be able to do that in the most cost effective way, we have to find new approaches. And so that's what we're targeting our research and development on, is specifically on those grid edge opportunities. We know that there'll be a lot of centralized solar and wind to help achieve those goals. But if we can coordinate usage with those centralized and intermittent resources, we can actually provide it in a much more cost-effective way. We don't have to build as much, both on the generation side and on the grid side, if we're able to partner with customers, if we're able to take advantage of advances happening with distributed solar, with storage, with building automation and integration. And so those are the things that we're focused on with our research and development.
So you're an engineer. Talk a little bit about, this is a unique building. This isn't just another building, right?
Yes.
This isn't just another building that's LEED certified. This is a transformative building and a transformative series of blocks, right?
Yes.
Can you talk just a little bit about what a big deal that is?
Yeah, it's so exciting to finally be here, to be in the Catalyst building, and to be right next door to the Scott Morris Center for Energy Innovation, because the Scott Morris Center for Energy Innovation is actually the heart of the district. We're testing out a shared energy model that we call the Eco District. And the Morris Center actually has all of the heating, provides all the heating and cooling and electrical needs for the Catalyst building, as well as other future buildings in the area. And by breaking down those barriers between the building designers and operators and the grid operators, and looking at how we supply energy and heating and cooling needs for buildings in a more holistic way, we're able to do that in very clean and very cost effective. So that's, we're able to use what we're learning here with the Scott Morris Center and with the Catalyst building to really test out how we can achieve that clean energy future in the most cost effective way possible.
You know, I'm sure not every community has the 5 smartest blocks here. So give us a little bit of a preview of, you know, how forward are we on this leading edge of what energy looks like tomorrow and what buildings look like tomorrow and all, how they're going to talk to each other and all. How early are we in that space?
We think we have a really unique relationship and partnership with the grid and the building, both from a design all the way from the very beginning of design to building it to operating it, that has broken down these historical barriers that really have existed forever between the grid operators and the building operators. And by breaking down that barrier and working in coordination, we're able to provide a win-win-win. We can make sure that the occupants are comfortable in a building, but we can also operate that building in a more cost-effective way. And by partnering with the grid operator, we can make sure that the grid is operating in the most efficient way for the broader community, as well as coordinating again with those large intermittent centralized renewable resources to support that clean energy future. And doing it in this coordinated way, we can operate in a grid-friendly way that supports cost effectiveness for everyone.
We're all using technology different today. Can you talk a little bit about the technology, even down to the phone apps that Avista has to help its customers out, whether it's outages or seeing what's happening in the region? Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing with technology?
Yeah, so one of the large projects that we're just wrapping up is installing smart meters on all of our customer services. And that will enable us to know about outages sooner instead of waiting for customers to call us. We'll proactively know when they have outages so we can respond to those and restore them more quickly. We'll be able to provide a completely transformational experience for customers on our website and on our app so that they can, instead of getting a month's worth of energy bill a month after they've used it, they'll be able to see real time how they're using energy, and we'll be able to send them alerts if they're using more than they expect before they get to the end of the month, so they can actually change their behavior and feel more in control of their energy usage.
Do you think we're going to be looking in the future of appliances talking to the grid more, about appliances being used in different methods? whether it be business customers or residential customers going forward?
Yes, absolutely. As I mentioned, with the resources that are clean being intermittent, one of the best ways that we can support those being installed and not having to be overbuilt is to manage the end use in a different way. And with the smart appliances and technology we have, we can do that in a way that doesn't have to change the end user's behavior. They can set it and forget it in terms of their appliances, and be able to have those appliances know when the wind is blowing and the sun is shining, and you can do set to do laundry or preheat the house, or they can shift usage when the sun when the clouds come over or when the wind stops blowing. So that regular communication that advanced intelligence allows us to do is really exciting, and will be one of the key advances that enables us to support this clean future in a really cost-effective way.
This has been a transformative period of time in Spokane over the last 20 years. 20 years ago, there wasn't a university district here, right? Mm-hmm. There was just like the Joint Center and the Surrey building, and it was before the Bulldogs were a household name in college basketball and all. Talk about how you feel as a Spokaneite to see how the region has changed and grown, and what you feel as an Avista employee today, if you would.
Right, absolutely. So I have lived the transformation that you stated. I started at Avista as a student when I was going to Gonzaga in electrical engineering in 1996 at the Surrey building. That's where I worked for Avista Labs, a subsidiary that worked on fuel cells, and that's where we were located. And so you could see the opportunity in the area. And over the last 24 years that I've been involved in this area, and seeing the coordination and the collaboration just continue to expand is so exciting.
Thank you for joining us. We could spend another half an hour talking about this. This is a truly exciting building. Thank you for Avista's leadership, and thank you, Heather, for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, now we're going to hear from another critical partner in the Catalyst project. Katerra is putting modern technology to work at all levels of building design and construction in an effort to address some of the biggest challenges in this industry. Last year, we had a chance to visit WSU's Corporate Materials Engineering Center, which partnered with Katerra to develop the advanced technologies for cross-laminated timber. And joining us now to help us learn more about this amazing technology is Craig Curtis, Katerra's head of architecture. Good morning, Craig. Welcome in live to our Manufacturing Week tour. Good morning. Happy to be here. Craig, can you tell us a little bit about how the Catalyst building was actually made?
Yeah, it is made, it is constructed with kind of a new building system that's referred to as mass timber. And this is, it's a type of wood construction that's quite different than what people traditionally think of. When you think of wood construction, you think of stick framing using wood studs. But this utilizes wood and from small diameter trees, just like normal wood frame construction. But instead it glues these smaller pieces of wood together 90 degrees from one another in layers into these giant slabs. And the real breakthrough in this way of building is with these slabs. So in the case of Catalyst, the floors and the exterior walls are built with cross-laminated timber, and that's the product that we manufacture right there in Spokane Valley. And our press is 12 feet wide and 60 feet long. So these are very large format panels of wood, anywhere from 4 to 12 inches thick. It's 1/6 the weight of concrete, but very strong, fire resistant, environmentally responsible. And as you can see for yourself today at Catalyst, it's quite beautiful.
Well, Craig, it's really cool to be up here on the 5th floor where it's kind of all open. We get a chance to really look at the construction. It really is very impressive. What are the opportunities that you see in the manufacturing sector for off-site construction as a whole for mass timber?
Yeah, well, I think in a way we're fortunate in the U.S. that we're coming into this a little bit late. So it's important to note that that this way of building has been around in Europe for about 20 years, more than 20 years, and it's a very mature market over there, and so it's proven itself. So it's been slow to come to the U.S. Primarily because the codes have taken a while to change, and we're kind of a risk-averse industry here, the construction industry in the United States. But it's coming on strong. There's incredible momentum building. The interest level is off the charts. Every one of our customers is asking about it. It's just a matter of time. This is going to become a very, very popular way to build here in the U.S. And as you'll hear later from Representative Kathy McMorris-Rogers, there are a lot of other reasons besides the environmental benefits to build with this wood.
Hey, Craig, I'd be curious to get your perspectives. Do you see this bridging from being part of the industrial construction effort to being a solution also in residential housing?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm quite excited about it, actually, because one of the reasons I joined Katerra is Katerra is on a mission to help solve this housing crisis. And you know, we're short about 7 million units of housing, apartments or single family homes across the country for what we call workforce housing or affordable housing. This is teachers and nurses and architects. You know, these are people who need a place to live that's affordable and high quality. And I really do firmly believe that mass timber can play an important role in that, especially in these buildings that are 6 to 12 stories where, you know, we're able to compete directly with concrete and steel. I think there's a real bright future.
Craig, what might surprise people about either this type of construction, whether it's speed to market or durability of the materials? What might surprise an everyday person?
Yeah, the speed of construction is really something. On average, and this is, you know, taking data from Europe, average of, you know, 20 to 30% faster than a typical project. In some cases, it can be even more. One of the stats that I find most surprising is the site logistics impact. So if you're comparing this to cast in place concrete construction, I've seen numbers where you can reduce the number of truck deliveries to the site by over 90%. So just imagine the reduction of impact on an urban site or say a university campus where you don't want concrete trucks coming in and out all the time. These are small crews, very large format panels, very lightweight, and very quick to erect.
Well, Craig, thank you for joining us today. This truly has been an impressive facility for us to walk around and get to see firsthand. Thank you for joining us. Be safe out there.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to check in with another leader that's important to the Catalyst Project, and that is Dr. David May, president of Eastern Washington University. Dr. May was named interim president just last month, having previously served as provost and vice president for academic affairs. I should say I'm married to a 1999 graduate of Eastern Washington University, so Dr. May, welcome on in.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, Eastern's an anchor tenant, signed up very early for this project. Why'd you do that? Can you talk to me about the future of Eastern's presence in this facility and what students might be learning?
Absolutely. Former President Cullinan had a vision, and that vision involves connecting Eastern and our students very, very directly with the communities that we serve and with businesses and industries both locally and regionally. Eastern has fully embraced that vision as a new type of educational opportunity for our students. It's something that really hasn't been done before because it really hasn't been possible before to talk about career connected and community engaged learning in the way that we can here in the Catalyst building.
What are the type of programs you're going to be offering out of this building?
So we are moving, the original intent was to move our computer science, our electrical engineering, and what was then visual communication and design here. We saw an opportunity to really expand the possibility for synergies within our own programming and as well as with the community. And so in addition, we're moving our business programs over here. We're moving some allied health programs over here, including things like addiction studies. And so we'll have an innovation hub in business right across the hall from the visual communication and design people. And so the opportunities there are just incredible to think about.
You touched on this partnership with the private sector community and employers, and certainly being down in the university district and in the heart of this region gives you an opportunity to do that at a really high level. Can you talk about how important that collaboration is with industry and while you're doing that downtown here?
Yeah, the opportunity for our students to get real world experience is what propels them immediately out of college into their careers. And it doesn't have to be something big. It can be as small as an internship, or it can be as large as a real meaningful long-term connection with business, with industry, or with anyone in the community. Our students are excellent learners in the classroom, but they're also excellent outside of the classroom. As they progress toward their degree, they learn skills that are valuable to future employers and to the region. And we're committed as an institution to being part of the future of this region in the short term, in the economic recovery as we move out of a pandemic, and then also, of course, in the longer term.
I'd ask you how the students are enjoying the building, but I recognize we're in a pandemic and they're not here, but I suspect you might be doing some teaching already from this building remotely to your students.
We have very limited learning opportunities coming out of this building right now because Eastern has positioned itself very strongly as health and safety first. We do have some people who are doing some work in the building. As you mentioned, we don't have students in the building right now, and they're chomping at the bit to get in here because being in the building is being in a living laboratory. It's an opportunity for our students to learn in that laboratory, but also actually, as I'm sure has been discussed, an opportunity to learn with the laboratory. As smart as this building is, the synergy between the students and the faculty and the community and this building is something brand new and very exciting.
In general, what are students sharing with you right now about their learning experience going through COVID and all? I know that you have a strong student population. What are they sharing with you and what are you doing to support them?
Well, we went into this thinking we knew how to do it and then realizing that nobody knew how to do it. And our students have helped us very much understand how to do it better for them. And so our students have shown as much grit as anybody ever, and they've shown as much grace as we could have asked them, and then some. And so when we went into the spring thinking our students would want asynchronous classes, where they could come into a lecture when they had time, and they didn't have to be there at a certain time of day to accommodate work schedules and family realities. What they told us very clearly, and this was my mistake going into this, that what they wanted was interaction, and they didn't get that in the asynchronous environment. And so we've pivoted very quickly again as a university to deliver more asynchronous opportunities and more opportunities for students to interact. They're telling us they're ready to be back on campus, but they're also telling us they understand that we're in the middle of a pandemic and that safety has to come first.
Yeah, you're part of a broader fraternity of colleges and universities in this state. When you think about this pandemic and what we're going through right now, what's keeping you up at night?
Well, obviously health and safety of our students, faculty, and staff. We have an amazing cadre of staff who are still on campus doing work physically on campus. I worry for them. I worry for all of us. But what really keeps me up at night is how Eastern's going to be positioned to respond to the next thing after the pandemic. How we can be the leader in the next evolution of education, just as we were the leader in responding to the pandemic. I think that students are going to want and even demand different things from higher education on the other side of this pandemic. They're going to demand more flexibility, the ability to step into and out of a physical and virtual environment as their life circumstances dictate and demand. I think that we have to be ready to meet those challenges, and so we're certainly fully engaged with learning right now, but I'm thinking about learning 5 years from now and how it's going to be different.
Well, President May, I want to thank you for joining us. What's been the one thing that surprised you so far since you've been on the job?
The volume. And I mean that in a number of different ways. My inbox on my email and the number of people talking to me.
President May, thank you for joining us. This is truly an exciting time at Eastern. It's an exciting project, and I think you're right. As we look forward, we need to talk about education and workforce more connected together, virtual, experiential, and building that skilled, trained workforce that's so important for industry, and we rely upon you for that output. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
All right, be safe. All right, thank you again, President May, for joining us. Up next, we're going to take a look at how we can support more women leaders in the manufacturing sector, and we'll hear from former Mayor David Condon, President for Eastern Washington for Primera Blue Cross, about how telemedicine is changing the way healthcare is delivered. Stay tuned.
When others feared what was to come, you saw a sliver of light, opportunity. And while some tried to go back, you're going all in. Rethinking, reinventing, smashing through new barriers and old fears. And we're right there with you, in the trenches, still grinding, still climbing, as you rally and rise. You are the one who can make this whole world turn. So be bold, be brave, be unstoppable.
At Travel Cheer, we do camp chairs, and we're all about getting people outside and making their experience more enjoyable and comfortable. We really want to take care of our staff and we want a good work-life balance, and part of that for us was being able to offer them health care. By far, AWB offered much better health insurance through Primera than the other companies did, and at a better rate.
Our cranes are used in virtually every industry you can think of.
Some of our biggest work is with our proprietary product, the Lamson TransiLift.
Lamson employs about 120 people here in Washington State.
We firmly believe in giving back into our community.
Things that happen right here in Washington State can make us less or more competitive.
We understand the need for regulation within Washington State, but that regulation needs to be streamlined. You need to be able to react quickly to your customers because that saves them time and money.
Good morning again and welcome back in. I'm Chris Johnson, President of the Association of Washington Business. As we're all aware, everything has changed literally overnight over this past year. The coronavirus and its economic impact has forced major change on employers of every size. Primera Blue Cross has embraced this change, especially around the field of telehealth. And here to tell us more, we're joined by the former mayor of Spokane, in fact, the first mayor to be reelected in 40 years, David Condon, who today serves as the president for Eastern Washington for Primera Blue Cross. David, welcome on in.
Well, thanks for having me aboard.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about AWB's Health Choice Plan, the important role it plays in serving manufacturers across the state of Washington.
You know, this is an amazing partnership that's been, has quite a legacy. And really, as we look to the future, just in the next year, just the turmoil that people are looking at, the uncertainty, this is a partnership that really is a great option for members of AWB as they look for their resources, and especially for maintaining some of their top talent. Health Choice provides an array of benefits, health benefits, and really is at the forefront in the innovation space for what employees are looking for. And so both from a cost perspective to your members, but then also of retaining top talent, which we always know in the manufacturing space is so critical.
You know, I always think of Primera as a very innovative company. Can you talk about some of those innovations that Primera is working on and rolling out?
Absolutely. The first I'll touch on right here in Spokane, we made a commitment to really address the issue with access, especially with primary care. So we launched Vivacity Care Centers. The pilot is here in Spokane, really building off of the innovation like we're here in this building. But really in the Spokane spirit, we have two that are open right now, and these are primary care clinics that are fully integrated, of course, for our members. But more importantly, it is really looking at primary care in a different way and spending time with our members and our patients, making sure that they're getting the best care from the very beginning, and really is the front door to the health benefit provided through Primera Insurance. And so that is really, and it's been fascinating as we have major employers right here in the University District. They're members of Primera, whether it be Gonzaga and Avista. And so one of our locations is right there on Division and Mission, right near those two major employers, so very convenient for their employees. But again, looking at healthcare in a way that is much more broad, much more not come in and churn right back out. So many of us unfortunately experience that. So those Vivacity Care Clinics is really a medical home, not an urgent care clinic, but truly a medical home.
And this has gone over really well. It's the first in a series, correct?
Absolutely. So we're building a beautiful one right out in the Spokane Valley, and then one up on the lower South Hill. So there'll be 4 here in Spokane. But really, this is a vision for our community for our community and also for Primera that's transformative. These will be going out throughout the state and really focusing on that access for our members. And we know in Eastern Washington, access for primary care is critical. That's why we have 2 medical schools right here that's within the sight of where we are right now.
Well, you talk about access. Certainly telehealth has changed, right, since we've gone through this pandemic. Talk a little bit about how Primera is involved in the telehealth space.
Absolutely. You could imagine just the scope of this. So for our members in January, about 5,000 visits. In March, 170,000 telehealth visits. And so you could imagine this is something that was really shined a light on the criticality of the foundation of our healthcare across the United States. But at Premera, of course, always looking to the future, here at this beginning of next year, we have Premera Now, which is really a fully integrated telehealth experience for our members. That's one stop for depending on whether you need behavioral health, which is a big need in our community and even exacerbated during COVID. Some estimates of some 1 in 5 of our employees, of company employees, have a behavioral health need. Not only that, but telemedicine is really an amazing avenue to address those issues. But Premera Now not only does behavioral health, but also your urgent care needs, your primary care needs, both texting and video chat calls. And so we're launching that here on the 1st of January for our member companies, and really meeting where folks are. And I think it's COVID, and we've been able to meet those gaps, and in many cases not have co-pays for those types of services during COVID. But now, going forward, really an opportunity for us to innovate going forward.
You talked about behavioral health. This isn't something that's just on the list. This is really important at Premera. Can you just spend a few more minutes on that?
Yeah, it really is. We launched an initiative called The Power of We, and that is that really we need to take away the stigma of behavioral health. Like I mentioned, for employers, this is something, 20% of your workforce, 1 in 5 employees are having issues with behavioral health. You could imagine the time away from work, the lost productivity of just dealing with issues, either themselves or their family members. And so at Premera, we made a commitment not only through our philanthropic giving, but also as a healthcare insurance provider, is to say, you know what, we need to get rid of the stigma and then provide opportunities for folks to live with behavioral health issues throughout their life, but in a way that remains them to be healthy, productive, at the workplace. And so a lot of times, that's, like I commented on, some of our telemedicine options are really the best for that and really see the best outcomes, which is ultimately what we want.
And let me change gears for a moment. This has really been a transformative period of time in Spokane. If you think about not 1, but 2 med schools, you think about the university district. Some may make the argument that this is your version of South Lake Union for Central Puget Sound.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about the transformation, and if people weren't paying attention, what is here today?
Well, we're sitting in about $1 billion in investment over the last decade plus, and it was the vision of many in Spokane to take this once railroad yard, way back when Speaker Foley was in the House, and launched CIRTI, Spokane Innovation Center. Now, all the universities here, 2 universities, or 3 universities really involved in medical education, will produce more doctors here in Spokane than on the west side. Of course, we have the nursing schools, the WSU Pharmacy School, the Eastern programs that'll be right here in the building for the allied health and also for dentists. So really, healthcare is the primary industry for Spokane. But what's really cool is that we're on the forefront of that. And then merge that, being on the forefront of sustainability and in the energy sector right here in the Catalyst building. I'm currently the chair of Urbanova, which is really that smart city initiative, really started by Avista and many others in the community. But Urbanova is way more than that, and that is looking at the citizen as the impetus, as the reason for these technologies. What's interesting, more and more, health is a major piece of that. And so that's why I'm proud to be this year's chair of Urbanova, but really to bring in that health perspective for our citizens all throughout the region.
You talked about healthcare being a really important retention tool. Can you talk about how important that is, and then the investment that Premera is putting in to ensure that is a top-notch retention tool for employers?
It speaks to Health Choice and to our partnership with AWB, but Premera really sees, with all of the disruption in our lives, the last thing that you want to disrupt is someone's ability to deal with an unforeseen circumstance or to maintain and be a healthy individual. And so Premera has been on the front of that, and we wake up every day to figure out how can we make healthcare simpler for our members. And it needs to be, and it is a very complex system. That's why we have, just renowned and phenomenal care. But it's also complex. And our job at Premera is to make it simple for folks. And so that's why, Vivacity Care Clinics, which is really rethinking the way we do primary care, and really to the basics, but then also at the same time is looking at the forefront of technology in areas that we've never done before. So yes, looking back to the typical doctor's office and how do we transform that relationship, that experience, and then be on the forefront of technology and say, how do we deliver healthcare? How do we deliver wellness in a whole different platform right here, in the hand of each one of our members, but in a very personal level, because at the end of the day, healthcare and wellness is very personal. At our Vivacity Care Clinics, we have wellness coaches, because it's not just about healthcare and medical care, it's also about wellness. We also have in those clinics navigators. So if you have been referred to a specialist, we actually have a Premera navigator right there in the lobby, in their office, to help you navigate where you should get the best care, where you've been referred to by your primary care provider. So really, it's from the very basics of the doctor's office to the provider, all the way through how do we push innovation and how do we deliver wellness and healthcare in a different way, in a simple way.
Before we wrap up, you have a very large footprint that many people may not know right here in Spokane. Can you just talk 30 seconds about your footprint here and your commitment to the region?
Absolutely. Premera has hundreds of employees in Eastern Washington. My accountability for the Vice President of Eastern Washington is all 17 Eastern counties. So that's yes here in Spokane, but also in the Tri-Cities, which is exploding with economic opportunity, in Walla Walla and Wenatchee, and really having in Colville and everywhere in between. And our job is how do we seamlessly bring the healthcare offerings to our members in a seamless way across that spectrum. And telemedicine is one of those key ways, but also making sure that we have specialists that are available into those communities so that people don't have to leave their home to seek healthcare.
David, thank you for Premera's partnership. Thank you for your support. It's a great story. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Next up, we're really excited to have a new format for this year's manufacturing tour, and just like telehealth, it allows us to reach more people quickly. Coming up now is a celebration of women manufacturers in Washington State, and we are a national leader in changing the narrative of what manufacturing looks like. Today's manufacturers are cleaner, greener, and breaking new ground in technology. Take a look at some of our favorite stops from prior years. Well, welcome on back, everyone. We have an outstanding panel of leaders for you on this next segment. It's my pleasure to hand the show over to our moderator, Rachel Camarillo. Rachel is the CFO at Air & Air and chair of the Women in Washington Manufacturing. Women in Manufacturing is the only national trade association dedicated to supporting women who have chosen a career in the manufacturing sector. On our show Friday, Caitlin, a Clover Park student, credited a Women in Manufacturing event for enticing her here into this career opportunity. If the four of you had a chance to listen, she had a great story about how she got connected and fell into this space. Rachel, thank you for joining us. Let me turn it over to you.
Thank you for having me, Chris. And as Chris mentioned, my name is Rachel Camarillo. I'm the CFO of Air & Air based in Seattle at Boeing Field. And I moonlight by night as the board chairwoman of Women in Manufacturing Washington. It's my pleasure today to facilitate a conversation with three powerhouses in the manufacturing community here in Washington. Erica Nist is who handles internal and external relations at the Seattle Tacoma Box Company. Felicia Bowen, who is the general manager at Pioneer Human Services, and Allison Budvarson, who is the co-owner and chief operating officer at Out of the Box Manufacturing. We'll start off with a 1-minute intro by each of you on how you got started in the manufacturing industry. And we'll start off with Allison, followed by Felicia, and then on to Erica.
Hi, everybody, and thanks, Rachel, and thanks to everyone at AWB for supporting Manufacturing Day. So as Rachel mentioned, my name is Allison Budvarson. I'm COO and co-owner of Out of the Box Manufacturing. We are a printed circuit board assembly house. So we are a contract manufacturer. We build electronic assemblies for other original equipment manufacturers in the Washington area and in the Puget Sound in general. So we will support medical devices, aerospace industry, industrial, commercial, and even lighting applications. I fell into manufacturing. A friend of the family was part owner in a business that does something very similar to what my business does now. So I got a chance to get involved in an inside sales role at that organization. And I just really fell in love with manufacturing. One of the things I love the most about it is the pace. You know, there's never a dull moment and something is always changing. So it's just incredibly dynamic and I love it.
I hear you on the pace. Felicia?
I'm Felicia Bowen. Thanks again, Rachel, for facilitating, and AWB for having me on the panel today. It was super exciting last year when AWB brought the bus to Pioneer, and the employees were excited to have the opportunity to show off our plant. So thanks again. I got started in manufacturing. Well, first of all, I work in Pioneer Industries. We're a sheet metal manufacturing shop and a division of Pioneer Human Services. Our company is a nonprofit and we're a social enterprise that supports folks coming out of the criminal justice system. So we have a wraparound services throughout our organization. But the place where I work, Pioneer Industries, I got started here and over 20 years ago. I've really done my whole manufacturing career here. I started on the floor in DeBur. Some of you may know what that means. Worked my way up through the manufacturing floor with a goal to get into the office, and took an interest in supply chain management, purchasing, scheduling, all sorts of things like that, and eventually ended up in my position as a general manager.
Awesome. From the ground up. Thank you, Felicia. Erica.
Hi, my name is Erica Nist, and I work for Seattle Tacoma Box Company. And first of all, thank you to Rachel and AWB. We actually had the bus out here last year, and it was the first time they visited the facility, so that was super exciting for all of us. Seattle Tacoma Box Company is a parent company of Sega Packaging and Sega Plastic Packaging as well, and across the board, we manufacture wood crates, other wood packaging, corrugated packaging, and then the plastics packaging division as well. And the company's 130 years old, so it actually became a company the same year that Washington became a state, so that's a fun fact. I do our internal and external relations here, which is essentially a hodgepodge of public relations, marketing, sustainability, and I somewhat fell into manufacturing since my family's been a part of it for 130 years. I'm a sixth generation to work here at the company. And so it was really fun to be able to bring a different perspective, being on the younger side of the spectrum, the people that work here, and to take a traditional business approach and kind of mesh it with what the 21st century is doing today. And so that's been a challenge, but also super fun in itself. And also be able to showcase what happens behind the scenes of manufacturing, not only on the floor, but the support team behind it. So I love it. It's been super fun. It's been super encouraging. And so I'm super excited to have a very long, hopefully long career in the industry.
That's fabulous. Let's start with Felicia. Felicia, only 29% of the manufacturing workforce is female. And I can bet that even a smaller percentage of that are women leaders in manufacturing. So can you briefly tell us about what it's been like for you serving as a leader in manufacturing?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you're right. It's been a small percentage of women. And that's no different here at Pioneer than anywhere else, I'm sure. There was challenges over the years. Like I said, I started from the bottom up, and there was a lot of, over the years, different types of leadership here. The diversity and inclusion wasn't really a part of the organization strategy. So there was times that I never thought I would go above an administrative position. So things over the years have changed, thank goodness, for a lot of companies. But our new leadership that started, I don't know, around 10 years ago, very interested in diversity and inclusion and how to bring about those practices within our plants and in our company. So I started to grow. I took advantage of the tuition reimbursement programs we have here. I learned anything I could. I was working tirelessly to prove myself as a woman, to get to the position I'm in. Now, what I really love about my job is that my voice counts. The advocating I can do, I watch people in not only our manufacturing, but our mission is really important to me. And watching these girls underneath me grow and hopefully being a part of that, being an example as a leader, having a voice at the table, bringing, different policies into effect and all those good things. Today I have a team of 75% men under me on my team, and they have more experience combined than many years that I've been alive. So that's a little intimidating. But, over the years, just my experience here and my, my drive to learn and grow has earned me a lot of respect. And so it's not weird anymore. It's basically we're a team and we work together and we all respect each other. And it's really, we're growing a lot. So it's exciting, even during these odd times of COVID and everything else, we're still probably tighter than ever.
Cheers to that. Yeah. And speaking of growing and evolving, and it's pretty exciting to have a younger person here on the panel. And Erica, with your current position not necessarily being on the shop floor, can you speak to anyone out there considering a career shift in manufacturing who is female? What advice do you have for them?
My best advice would be, especially in today's day and age, some of what was talked about earlier, is there's a really big value in the diversity of opinions, perspectives, approaches. And I think because it has a limited group of females in the manufacturing, your voice is very valued, and it's becoming more and more valuable as more and more women step into the industry. So although women that have been in the manufacturing industry have very much trudged the way for younger generations to step up to the plate. And so I would really encourage them to not be intimidated by it, but see it as an opportunity to be challenged, to work with people across the spectrum of ages and male and female, and to show that manufacturing is more than just production. It takes an entire team to provide customer the best possible service or product that your company is working on. And it really is a great opportunity, even though it may seem intimidating at first.
Oh, I love it. There's actually entire businesses and administrative teams and everything behind the shop floor. So you said it very beautifully. Allison, as the co-owner of a local manufacturing company, do you have any other advice for employers in the area on how we can encourage more women leaders in the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that there's two things that I would say employers have a responsibility to do locally, and that would be to advocate for the women within your own company. Create a mentorship program and help to encourage and train and push female people within your organization to continuously learn. Like Felicia said, stay hungry. And then I would also say outreach to schools is a huge part of encouraging young women to go into manufacturing. I've been in a lot of high schools, several local community colleges, connected with, there's just so many organizations that that companies can be involved with. There's the AWICS, is the Association of Women in Science. There's Rachel's organization, Women in Manufacturing. There's Women in Electronics. There's PNAA has women leadership roles in aerospace as well. So I think that there's a ton of support out there right now. It makes it really easy for organizations to get involved and be part of the solution going forward.
Amen. Amen. Oh, Allison and Erica and Felicia, I could talk to you guys all day, and I know you personally, and you guys have amazing stories. And by amplifying and really championing stories and one another like this is how we're going to get future generations of women into the industry and really make them believe that they have a place in manufacturing with women like us who are here to support them. If you're up for more manufacturing inspiration, Women in Manufacturing is rounding out October Manufacturing Month with a conference in October 28th and 29th. Go to kentwim2020.com for more information, and we'll take this back to Chris in Spokane. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thank you guys for a great job today. Welcome on back. Please know that as you continue to grow and expand, we're here to be a resource for you. Next up, we have a video message from one of our Eastern Washington lawmakers, State Representative Jacqueline Maycumber of the 7th Legislative District. Take it away.
Thank you for having me tonight. And thank you, manufacturers of the state of Washington, because you are the basis of our strong economy. Not only do you provide living wage jobs, but you also provide the revenue source for our economy to move forward. If you're producing in the state of Washington, you're producing greener, and you're producing with less energy than anywhere else in the world. And frankly, we are not climate outsourcing when we produce here locally. I believe manufacturers in the state of Washington should be incentivized to continue to produce here. Thank you for our local manufacturers, because we build communities around you. Our schools are stronger, our living wage jobs are higher, and we really look forward to innovating in the future. You are the reason that we can move forward in the state of Washington, and I want to thank you. I truly believe that we are better, stronger when we produce here. And women innovators, there's a whole new world where we are producing and we're moving forward in innovation in science and technology and manufacturing. And that is the way it should be. I want to give a shout out to my local manufacturers that really have strengthened our local communities and given our next generation jobs and careers to look forward to. And Hughes Craft, Inland Pulp and Paper, Kaiser Aluminum, we've really looked and moved forward and what we could see, what we could do for our local children and our communities. And I want to say congratulations to a good friend of mine, Russ Vaughan. You have been nominated for a few awards tonight, and I want to mention those. You have been nominated in Vaughan Timbers for Manufacturer of the Year, for Green Manufacturing of the Year, and for WEA Entrepreneur of the Year. Congratulations, Russ Vaughan and Vaughan Timbers. You have been nominated for quite a few awards, and I'm honored to announce them tonight. Thank you again, manufacturers for the state of Washington, because if you're manufacturing in Washington state, you're doing it greener and better, and you are producing the basis of our economy. Thank you again.
Thank you, Representative Maycumber, for sharing your thoughts on manufacturing and for all your support over the years. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce another Eastern Washington lawmaker, and that's State Senator Andy Billig of the 3rd Legislative District right here in Spokane. Senator Billig is a proud father, businessman, and Spokane community member. He also serves as the majority leader in the Washington Senate for the Washington Senate Democrats. Senator Billig, welcome on in. We're great to be in your hometown.
It's my pleasure. I'm so glad you're here.
Hey, share a few minutes, if you would, as a small business owner, the challenges that COVID's had on your company, if you would.
Well, so our business is, I run the minor league baseball team here in Spokane, and so it's a particularly tough time to be in the seasonal large event business, but many of the experiences that we're having are experiences that all businesses are feeling. Certainly a dramatic decrease in revenue, but I think one of the things that's so hard is just the uncertainty. We just don't know, and nobody knows, and it's why I'm so committed, and I think so many of us are committed to making sure we get the virus under control, because that is the best way to get our economy back open all the way.
You know, Senator, we had a chance to do, I think, our 6th employer survey during COVID, and to your comment, this is going to change, I think, the whole way we do work. For example, about 11% of the respondents said, hey, they don't ever envision employees coming back, and then the talk about remote work and remote learning. We certainly know that this has been an issue that's highlighted the challenge of broadband communication in our state. Can you talk just a little bit about what you're hearing from constituents about broadband connectivity, whether it's for students and learning or for employers trying to do their jobs as well?
Yeah, I mean, we knew broadband was important before this pandemic, but the pandemic has really put a spotlight on it, and for business and for school, as you said. And I think often it gets portrayed as a rural problem, and it is. And we really have a problem in the rural areas. But it's also a problem in urban areas. In my district, which is central Spokane, which is definitely an urban district, we have problems with connectivity. It's sometimes not that the infrastructure is not there, but it's the cost or the ability to connect and the convenience of connecting. So it's an issue we know across the state. Luckily, it's unlike some of the things on the pandemic, which are new to us. This is something we already had a head start on. We have a broadband office. We have resources allocated to that broadband office. I mean, it does take a long time when you're talking about physically building out the fiber, but we have a head start and we are making progress.
Senator, one of the things that came out of that employer survey as we think about recovery is what can the state do to help manufacturers in this economy. You know, by 44% of the respondents, by a factor of 2 to 1, said, hey, any ability to reduce the cost of doing business, whether it be the BOO tax or others, was important. What type of recovery support do you see coming for manufacturers and for the whole economy, for that matter, as we go into the next legislative session?
Yeah, it's a really important question, because we need to have not just a recovery, but we want to have a robust recovery. We want it to be sustained for the long term. So I think there are a number of things that we can do. I think we should definitely look at flexibility on timelines for paying taxes and other fees that businesses need to pay, and we've already done some of that. We need to look at emergency grants, and we've done some of the federal government did the PPP loans, which in some cases are forgivable. So the state looked at smaller emergency grants for smaller businesses. So we've got that going on. I think that UI fund and UI rates is something that we're also very focused on. We were at historic lows prior to the pandemic for UI rates. I don't know that we're going to be able to freeze things at historic lows, but we know we have a challenge. We did get a little bit of good news on the UI fund last week. But we know that's a challenge. And so we're going to have to look at how to smooth that out, how to make sure that we don't hit the very high points that were in some of the projections. And I think that there will be some action that you will see related to that. But, we're constrained. We're not like the federal government, where we just get to print money and can give out big stimulus. We are going to balance our budget, as we always have. And so doing things like saying we're going to reduce tax revenues, we've got to figure out a way to pay for that. We've either got to cut something else or figure out some other tax that's going to fill that hole. But one of the things the state is good at in terms of stimulus is to make investments. So I think you'll see a very robust capital budget. And I think hopefully we'll also see a transportation revenue package, an infrastructure package. And that's probably the state's best way, because it puts money right into the economy in the short term. And it also builds that foundation of infrastructure for a successful economy in the long run.
When I think about manufacturing, Senator Billig, here in the Spokane region, 500 plus manufacturers, about 15,000 men and women wake up every day, go to work for a manufacturer. In the state, it's almost 300,000 men and women work every day for a manufacturer. What are some of the rebound and recovery solutions you see coming out of the next legislative session that helps this sector? It's a sector that pulled us through the last recession, but is one that's really struggling this time.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the things that we're just talking about, we make sure that we don't make things worse is one of the first things with UI rates, and then doing investment into the economy in the form of stimulus, whether it be capital or transportation or whatever, or other types of things, which definitely will have an impact on the entire economy. And then I think there are also things that you'll see related to childcare, which is something I hear from AWB members all the time, that we need to increase our ability to do that and make sure that we don't take a step backward, which is really a danger. And then I think the biggest thing for my business, for so many businesses, for manufacturing businesses and so many others, is making sure that we have the virus under control, because we are not going to have a robust recovery until we have the virus completely under control. And it's one of the things, it's really, I think, a government and community joint responsibility and something we're going to work hard on. In terms of B&O tax, which I know is a focus in your survey, I think we've got to work together on solutions. And I think there is a willingness to look at a wholesale sort of reorganization of B&O and look at what's the smartest way and fairest way to tax in Washington State. There's a lot of interest in that. I think that there is frustration, though, where we just do exemption after exemption, that we need to figure out a way for a wholesale solution that actually increases fairness, helps for a business, and is really good for our entire state. So I think very open to those discussions.
Senator, I want to thank you for joining us. You've been great about coming on. Anytime we've asked you to talk about where we're at, solutions from the legislature. This is our first TV show that we're doing. 7 minutes goes by really fast. So thank you for your partnership. We look forward to working with you and your colleagues as we go into the 2021 legislative session. Senator Billig, be safe out there.
Thanks so much, Chris. Bye.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, but now stay with us as we take that short break. Up next is Congresswoman Kathy McMorris Rogers, today's PPE hero and the first winner of this year's Manufacturing Awards, coming right up after the break.
Premera Blue Cross is in your corner, wherever it may be. We're there for you at the corner of hustle and bustle, providing health plans for the most innovative companies in a region that's booming. We're also in the corners of places that aren't measured by size to ensure rural communities are well cared for too. We're in your corner for the bumps in the road and the long roads ahead, partnering with Seattle Cancer Care Alliance to have Premera people on site. We're in your corner the exact moment you need us. And when a whole community's in need, investing millions to fund mental health services and fight teenage homelessness. Premera is in these corners, and these corners, every day, working hard to make healthcare work better. We're Premera Blue Cross, and we're always in your corner.
Life is different these days, but that's not stopping us from living. Like spending quality time with family, supporting local small businesses, and doing what's right to keep each other safe. At U.S. Bank, we're doing our part to turn words into action. We're committed to investing in diverse communities by increasing grants and capital to support small businesses, housing, and workplace advancement. Together, we can create the momentum for positive change. Learn more at usbank.com/action.
Solis is a medical device technology company. We're focused on the wellness market with treatment of vitamin D deficiency through ultraviolet phototherapy. This is a very competitive labor environment, and so we really need to make sure that we attract high-end talent. Having a competitive healthcare package is extremely important. Going with AWB Health Choice, I think, was a good decision for us. It makes us more competitive in the market. Good healthcare is good business.
Alafia works to alleviate poverty and promote gender equality. We do that through the fair trade of sustainable resources in West Africa.
Private enterprise alleviates poverty.
Using a business to make money to help other people.
Our mission is heavily impacted by excessive regulations or taxation. And when the business is difficult, it means that you can't grow, and you can't grow, it means you can't hire people. We believe that every human being deserves to have an opportunity.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Again, Chris Johnson, President of the Association of Washington Business. Thanks again to our great friends at UPS, US Bank, Talking Rain, Alaska Airlines, and Out of the Box Manufacturing, and more for making today's show possible. Now it's my pleasure to welcome a strong ally for Washington manufacturers, and that's Congresswoman Cathy McMorris Rodgers of the Washington 5th Congressional District, right where we're broadcasting live from. Welcome on into the show, Congresswoman.
Thank you, Chris. Welcome to Spokane.
It's great to be here. It's a beautiful fall day at this new state-of-the-art building here. Hey, let's talk for a few minutes, if we can. You're doing some important work back at the nation's capital, specifically on the U.S. Safe Web Act extension. Can you talk a little bit about how important that is as we talk about data privacy, especially during COVID?
Well, certainly. Boy, all the issues around data privacy, the importance of having security, combating fraud and scams and other abuses have increased during COVID. And the U.S. Safe Web Act is I think it's more important today than ever. And I was really excited last week. It passed the Senate, so now it's on its way to the president for a signature. And what the U.S. Safe Web Act does is it gives the FTC the tools that it really needs to work with its counterparts in other countries around the world to combat the fraud and the scams and the other abuse to consumers, as well as consumer information when it originates abroad. So it's really to encourage the sharing of information with foreign counterparts. And certainly, given that many of these scams and identity theft schemes originate in other countries, these tools are really critical to the FTC to protect consumers against bad information.
When I think about what manufacturers do, they innovate. Can you talk a little bit about how this is going to help protect manufacturers as they look at their own research and development and innovation?
Well, yes, it's clear that the virtual, the web is all such a big part of our future. You know, we're continuing to do more online, using new technologies, new innovations. And so having these tools that are going to protect our consumer information, and ultimately what we need though is a privacy law. So these are some tools for the FTC to combat when there are scams or bad actors. But what we ultimately need is a privacy law. And I've been working really hard with my Democrat counterparts in the House as well as in the Senate, Republicans and Democrats. But COVID-19 has only underscored the importance of passing a national privacy standard for the United States of America, and one that will address some of the confusion that consumers currently have around information that's being collected, data, and how it may be sold or used, but also for businesses to have that certainty no matter where they operate. You know, the internet doesn't know state lines, and right now we see states adopting their own privacy laws at the state level that I fear will only cause confusion at a national level. So we need that national privacy law and encourage people to continue to raise the drumbeat and just encourage Congress to take action.
You know, if I think about manufacturing, it's changed so much in the last 50 to 75 years, from mechanization to the type of green energy to the role that technology has played in this. You have, like we do in all things, an acronym here, a COMPETE Act, that's going to help move the manufacturing sector into the next generation of manufacturing. Can you talk about how important that is in helping us to keep globally competitive in manufacturing?
Absolutely, Chris. And this is our future. When you think about these emerging technologies around artificial intelligence or 3D printing or smart manufacturing, this is our future. And I'm really excited that just last week the House passed the American COMPETE Act, which is a package of bills that's focused on identifying the barriers and focused on making sure that America is leading when it comes to emerging tech. And this is the way that we're going to win the future. This was a package of bills that we introduced in May. We had been working on it before COVID. We introduced it in May, and it's just been really great to see Republicans and Democrats come together, and we were able to pass it out of committee the first week of September and then get it off the floor. This is about America winning the future, and we need America to lead. We need to really tackle these tough questions around emerging tech to make sure that we're protecting individual privacy and individual rights and individual dignity. You see in China right now, they're using emerging tech, whether it's artificial intelligence or surveillance, to quash minorities, to quash free speech. One camera now for every 6 citizens in China. America needs to lead, and the world needs our leadership. And so this is a package of bills that's really focused on making sure that America wins the future, and that we are continuing to do it in the American way.
There's been a lot of conversation about where Congress is at on a next federal stimulus package. Can you kind of shape up where are we at and what might you see happening over the coming weeks?
Well, it's certainly my hope that we'll be able to pass another bipartisan package. We need to pass liability protections at the federal level for businesses, for hospitals, for long-term care, for our schools. We're seeing hundreds of lawsuits brought forward right now. And in so many of these cases, people are doing the best they can. And this is, everyone this is uncharted territory. And the fact that some are bringing these lawsuits forward, it's only making it more difficult. So I believe that we need that liability protection. As I talked to school superintendents in August about what it would take to open up their schools, the liability was one of the big barriers to opening up our schools in a safe and responsible way. And you just think about what a damper that is. So we need another package. It needs to include the liability protections. It needs to include the extension of the Paycheck Protection Program, as well as more flexibility within the PPP, because this pandemic and the shutdown and the slowdown is lasting a lot longer than anyone anticipated. It's really heartbreaking every day as I'm hearing stories of businesses that are continue to be shut down or closing here in Spokane and Eastern Washington. It has broken my heart. These are businesses that have been built for years, decades, in some cases. So we've been notified that we could be called back within 24 hours if a deal is struck. I know Secretary Mnuchin and the Trump administration, Mark Meadows, they have basically been camping out on Speaker Pelosi's front door, just to say, we got to get this done. We got to get this done. And so we'll see. It's especially challenging right now, given the political environment, but it needs to happen for people that are hurting and businesses that are really struggling.
We're out of time, but I want to give you 30 seconds. You have a really broad congressional district. Can you just talk about how vibrant manufacturing is in your sector and how important it is to make great things, whether it's Alex McGregor's wheat down in Colfax and shipping it abroad, or Katera new buildings like what we're sitting in today? Can you just 30 seconds on how important manufacturing is in your district?
Well, manufacturing is just fundamental, and I'm excited about what's going on. I just thank you for highlighting manufacturing throughout Eastern Washington and Washington State. You just think about the jobs, you think about producing new products, and it's fundamental to our country that we have strong manufacturing, and proud of what's going on here, and we need to keep that going. And so I want to work with you on all of these issues.
Well, thank you, Congresswoman, for joining us today. It's great to be in the Inland Empire. It's a beautiful fall day. Be safe.
Take care.
Now we have something different lined up for our 2020 tour, and it's definitely a change up from past. We're going to take a virtual tour of Airborne Motorworks, an exciting new technology in vertical personal aviation.
Welcome to Airborne Motorworks.
Airborne Motorworks is an innovative tech company in the eVTOL market that has designed an entirely new propulsion system called electromagnetic gyroscopic propulsion, or as we like to call it, EGP. The design will replace the prop and motor technology, but also has multiple applications and patents around the EGP system for more efficient clean energy and sustainability across other billion-dollar markets. Here in our lobby, you can see a full-scale model of the AeroRunner GSX, and behind it, you can see that the EGP system allows you to fly in any weather over any terrain, which is unique to our build. Our EGP system is an extremely advanced technology that will allow us to really produce a true flying car, especially what we've all envisioned flying cars to really look like. Our EGP system is the solution in creating eVTOLs that are safe, stable, powerful, with highly efficient battery life. In addition to the AeroRunner GSX, we have several other patent designs that utilize our EGP system. Here you can see our two-seater Hummingbird that is designed as a daily commuter vehicle, aerial taxi, as well as for military and first responder use. We have designed a larger Hummingbird that can carry 4 passengers or 2 passengers with cargo. Both the 2- and 4-seater Hummingbirds have been designed with a tilt-up nose cone so that they can be used as an aerial ambulance or to load and unload cargo. We also have the AeroRise platform, designed for firefighters, search and rescue, and other mission-critical functions, where you need a large payload, but a vehicle more stable and maneuverable than a helicopter. Here we are in the R&D area. This is where we do pre-production work and testing on various parts of our systems, including the EGP, mechanics, avionics, and electrical systems. Thank you for virtually visiting our facility here in Spokane Valley, Washington.
Welcome on back, everyone. I think that was really cool. I'm sure for anybody that lives in Western Washington, they were thinking, could I get something like that so I can skip over all the traffic on Interstate 5? With us today is Julie Lawton. She's with Airborne Motorworks. She's the Vice President of Marketing and Sales. Julie, welcome on into this year's manufacturing tour.
Thanks for having us, Chris.
Hey, so how did we get started here? Tell us about how you got started and kind of what lies ahead for the company.
Well, Jesse Marcel is our chief design operator, and he actually had this idea for a system, the electromagnetic gyroscopic propulsion, about 17 years ago. And he worked on it until he finally actually was able to make the patent and whatnot. So it's been a long time dream of his. Ever since he saw the Jetsons, he wanted to fly a car. So that was really the motivation behind it with him.
So how did we get to the Spokane Valley? You could be located anywhere in the country or for that matter, anywhere in the world. Why did you choose Spokane Valley to call home?
Well, that's where Jesse Marcel lives, as well as our CEO. So it was just kind of a natural fit for them. Washington makes it easy to begin a business and all of that. So it just seemed like a natural fit for us, as well as there's an enormous amount of really skilled engineers in the Pacific Northwest. So that was another leading factor to cause us to really kind of choose Spokane Valley.
Talk to us about what's the range of these products and how are they powered? How far can you go and what type of fuel source?
Okay, so they're 100% electric. They fit in a parking space. They fit in your garage. They go they go about 300 miles per hour, but we'll see what the FAA says about that, right? But we actually have, we recharge the batteries in flight because our electromagnetic gyroscopic propulsion system is so powerful. We only use 1/4 of it. So we can use another 1/4 of it to actually recharge batteries when you're actually flying it. So you can get 5 to 6 hours of flight.
And if someone's thinking, geez, I need absolutely one of these so I can skip over traffic, get my kids to their soccer games as fast as possible, what are they looking at spending?
So we haven't moved to mass manufacturing yet. We're still basically building prototypes with the military as well as, fire and rescue, first responders, very interested in certain ones. So we are designing the Hummingbird. It will probably start at about $250,000. That is the 2-seater. Our AeroRunner, which is the flying motorcycle, is about $150,000, as well as the platform will actually be built to spec. So that will not be available to the public, but more for first responders, military, emergency use.
What is the one thing that surprised you from working at this company about the technology and what it can do in the future?
So, I don't come from an aerospace background, right? So I come from an automotive background, and it was very interesting to me to see how advanced the technology was. People think we're very, very far away from flying cars. and we're not. In fact, there's an entire initiative from the government in the United States Air Force called Agility Prime that really is forcing these to come forward very quickly. So I think the biggest surprise to me is how quickly we actually will have a flying vehicle available for sale, right? That's actually functioning like a car, not someone that goes 40 miles an hour and gets blown by the wind. Our vehicles won't do that with the EGP system.
Julie, we really look forward to watching the company's progress. Thank you for giving us an inside look at your company. And again, what a neat conversation today about the future of delivery. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
Now it's time to celebrate our PPE heroes, the Washington manufacturers who answered the governor's call early in the pandemic to manufacture personal protective equipment right here in Washington for Washingtonians. This equipment is incredibly valuable for our state, whether it's face masks like this, gowns, hand sanitizer, or so much others. We know that PPE is a new conversation to us all, and it's going to be part of our everyday life, it seems like, for the foreseeable future. Thanks again to our friends at U.S. Bank for being our PPE Heroes sponsors and for their help in making this segment possible. Now it's my pleasure to welcome our next guest to the show, one of them virtually, one of them in person. Today we have the Sondren family. Keva Sondren is the co-president, marketing director, and the chief cultural officer at Sondren Packaging in Spokane. And Matt Sondren is the co-president and director of quality management, and he joins us via Zoom. Their company is one of the great family business success stories here in Spokane and in our state that makes our state such a great place to work, live, and play. If you hear the last name that sounds familiar, it's because their dad was heavily involved in the Association of Washington Business throughout the years. So Matt, Keva, welcome on in.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Keva, let's start with you. Talk to us, what's business been like since the pandemic has happened? What are you experiencing?
Wow. There was a lot of anxiety at first. I think I would echo that with many of the essential, especially the essential workforce. We had to take risks every day coming to work. And luckily we had work. We had a lot of it. 76% of our business is in grocery. So we're very busy. And so we've just thrived through this. And it's been challenging to update processes and procedures for COVID, but we've hit our stride and we're really doing well.
Share with us, what is it not only to run a family business, but to be the female leader of running that family business?
It's a blast. It's so much fun. I love what I do, and I love making things for the economy. It's wonderful. I really love our people, and that's why I'm a part of this family business, and that's why I decided to make it my career and my home. It's because of our awesome team, and there can be a lot of pressure. You have 123 plus lives that you're responsible for as your employees and coworkers. But at the end of the day, being in business with my brother, there's nobody else I would trust more with the health of the company. So there's a lot of just peace of mind with that and our awesome team. So we really like what we do.
Well, we'll come back and talk about culture and team here in a minute. Hey, Matt, let me bring you into this conversation. I understand you're one of really the few independent companies that are in your industry left. Can you talk a little bit about that and then why it's a point of pride for your family and for your company?
We are, especially in the Pacific Northwest, we're pretty much one of the only independent family-owned folding carton companies. We actually just heard recently yet another family-owned business in our industry just sold to a foreign national company. So, our vision statement is fiercely independent, which essentially means that the decisions we make are for the long-term health of the business, to really carry on into the next generation. So, we love the freedom of being independent and having control of our own destiny. Promoting a family culture is hugely important, and that ultimately translates to taking the absolute best care of our customers. So that's, family businesses are great, especially to work for. It gives you a lot of flexibility, and there's a lot of things that we can do for the long term that, a lot of other companies may not be able to take into account.
Hey, Matt, as you look on the horizon, would you frame up are some of those really big issues that are facing family businesses like yours?
Well, for us, it's really remaining independent. I imagine it's very similar for other family businesses. Passing on the business to that next generation is really very difficult. Families need to spend time and money, not only on financial and tax planning, but on family business governance, especially as they move into that second and third generation and beyond. So, additionally, like many small businesses, high minimum wage here in this state, the costly workers' comp insurance, especially in manufacturing sectors, it makes it difficult to compete in the market when a lot of our competitors reside outside of the state and they have lower labor costs and lower overhead. So to remain competitive, kind of our only alternative is to automate and our processes as much as possible, and then that takes a lot of capital investment. That's kind of what we see in the future, more automation.
Hey, Matt, let's build off that for a few minutes. We've had a number of elected officials on the program today, whether it be federal or state. What would you say, what are some of the things the legislature could do to help family businesses like yours succeed and grow and stay here in Washington?
Well, in addition to maybe changing the legislation around minimum wage and workers' comp that I mentioned earlier, I'd say make the terms of the qualified family-owned business estate tax deduction the same as the farm estate tax deduction. Currently the family business deduction is limited to $2.5 million, where the land, many cases the assets of an entire farm, are deductible from an estate value. So my argument is family businesses are essentially the same as a family farm business, and the family has already paid taxes as they grow the business. To me, it doesn't make sense to tax those assets again, especially when the family is more likely at that time in the midst of a major transitionary event. It can make things difficult. So when you factor in federal estate taxes, those families that don't have the means to pay maybe lawyers and accountants and insurance agents to plan for those estate taxes, or they get caught off guard maybe in a sudden family death, it could put them in a position to sell to sell the business just to pay the tax. So that means selling usually to a larger competitor, somebody that's often out of state, corporation or a private equity firm, who wouldn't be reinvesting those profits back in the local community and might possibly move the entire business out of state.
Yeah, Kevin, let me bring you back in. We've got about 3 or 4 minutes left in this segment, but you talked about culture. I come from a family-owned business just like you do. Can you talk about how important the culture is and how important fit is in that culture?
Yeah, no, it's everything, and it's something that we work on every single day. I really, with a family business, I want it to be a family culture. It's not just another corporation. You're not another number. We truly know everybody's name. We truly care about them as people. And if that's what you're looking for, then I would absolutely recommend a family business to work for. We have 7 positions open. I'm just going to put a plug in for that. Go ahead and apply on our website. But it's also a place that I want to be. I want the culture to be somewhere that I actually want to be as well. So a culture of just respect is huge.
You guys had an incident some years ago at the facility there, and you had some competitors hop in to help you stay up and stay running. Can you talk a little bit about that? Right. And I think it's really a point of pride for your industry and for the family.
Absolutely. We had a lot of support during that time when we had our fire. That was 1998 now, so that's quite a while ago. However, it did show everyone what that looks like, whether it's your own community, whether it's your employees, or whether it's your competitors. And right now we are in an industry group called the Independent Carton Group, where there's at least, I think, 22 of us around the nation, and we provide backup for each other and also raw material purchasing power and that sort of things. But we provide support as independents in that group, and that's a huge, huge benefit to us.
I think there's an interesting story. You guys didn't miss a beat. You delivered to customers, you were supplied with material and equipment, you kept everybody working, right? I mean, it's really a point of pride for your family.
Absolutely, yep. And it's all about relationships, and my dad would tell you the same thing.
So if someone's listening in and said, geez, how would I know if something is your product when I'm at the grocery store? Could you talk a little bit about what your product looks like if they might be at the grocery store?
Sure, absolutely. Some of our main customers might be Reese's Fine Foods, so some sort of prepared product in the refrigerated or freezer section. We have a lot of products that are also in Costco, so any type of lightweight paperboard material box is what we do. Everything is custom, and that's what makes it so fun, because there's never a dull day when you have custom work and you think you know everything, but you really don't. You're humbled very quickly. So yeah, you can find us in the grocery store, tea boxes, cereal boxes, that sort of thing. That's what we make here.
You're the Chief Cultural Officer. Yep. What would be your message to young people who are considering a career in manufacturing?
I would say that you kind of have to figure out if you want maybe a physical job. Do you want something detail-oriented? There's a few things that might be considerations because there's a lot of different jobs. For instance, we have people in our maintenance department that are electrical engineers. We have people that are quality auditors. We have people that drive forklifts or run $1 million pieces of equipment. So there's quite a range of actual jobs in the manufacturing sector, and I think the key is to just trying it out and finding out what is a good fit for you, but also what is a culture that you're looking for as well. And I think a lot of people really enjoy having shift work. They can depend on it, and that helps them to plan life around their families as well.
Hey Matt, let me bring you in for one last question here. You're a family-owned business, you're from Spokane, you guys have stayed in the region. Talk a little bit about, as a company here, how the region has just really grown. I mean, it's a very different looking region today than it was 20 years ago.
Really exciting.
Absolutely. You know, I started actually right after that fire about 20 some years ago. And, you know, I remember, you know, especially Spokane and the area, what that was like growing up, and to see these other businesses that come into the area that kind of create this vibrancy. You know, we didn't have these types of aerospace companies at the time. We didn't have some of this, you know, the medical and these other types of pharmaceutical companies that are kind of starting up now. And it's pretty exciting, right? You know, to see what is actually here, because most of our customers are actually, you know, outside of like our Eastern Washington region, and to have to see what's going on now in terms of that growth and the new technology and thoughts and things coming in is fun. It's pretty exciting. It makes it a neat place to interact with other business people as well.
I wish we had more time. Keva, Matt, hats off to you. Third generation leaders of their company at Sondern Packaging. Please tell Mark we say hi. Sondern Packaging is in great hands with your leadership. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Before we move on to our final segment of the day, I'd like to thank Talking Rain Beverage Company, headquartered in our great state, for being our official beverage partner, along with Boeing, Walmart, Avista, for sponsoring today. At this time, it's my pleasure to announce the winner of AWB's 2020 Manufacturing Excellence Award for Innovation. The Innovation Award recognizes a Washington State company that has maintained a competitive advantage by utilizing innovation while remaining responsive to the market's demands. The finalists for this year's awards include some amazing companies like Carbitex, Humming Hemp, and Novalex. Without further ado, this year's Innovation Award winner is Novalex.
Hello, my name is Galen Killam, and I'm the Senior Technology and Product Manager for the Shields Division of Novalex. At Shields, and specifically in Yakima there, we make a number of different products. We make things for the produce industry, so bags that would package produce. We make security bags, which banks and almost any business would use for containing their monies at the end of the day, or for their receipts, or different things that need to be secure. We make ice bags. We make bags for fertilizer and for seeds and for that entire industry as well. We do a lot of things for the construction industry, concrete underlayment, insulation wrapping, packaging materials like that. We make so many different unique things out there that people don't know about, that they use every single day. and make their lives better. So we're really proud of that. Novolex started about 8 or 10 years ago. I started with the company about 8 or 10 years ago. A few years back, we purchased Shields, which was in Yakima, Washington there. And Shields has become part of the Novolex family. I would say the culture of our company is really good. It's an amazing culture, actually. The CEO of our company talks about having approximately 10,000 families in our company. And truly, he means that. And we all live that, right? We have families of people that are important to our company. And so we take care of those. It's a really good company to work for. And it's a really amazing group of people that work here. So as COVID came to be in the United States about 6 months ago, one of the things that everybody saw within the time of need was, hey, we don't have enough PPE. We don't have enough protective gowns. We don't have enough things that can keep our healthcare providers successfully covered and safe. And so there were a few individuals, specifically in Yakima, Washington, at our Shields division there, who said, I know that I can take the equipment we have and make gowns. And they went out and they started to make gowns. Then creativity kicked in, and they went not only to what they could make, but they went to the families of the people that work at our Shields plant in Yakima, and they said, okay, now you work as a nurse in Yakima, or you work as a doctor. I'm bringing you this thing that we just made. I want you to try it and tell me what you think of it. And so in the Yakima hospitals and nursing homes and so on, they actually tested what they made. As a team then, we started to work on this and improve on what we could do right there out of Yakima. The people in Shields said, we can show everybody in Novolex how to do this. Let's all learn together, real quick now, how we can all make gowns and PPE for the COVID crisis. When you ask why we won the award, I believe we won it because of the creativity of people to go from an area that they're in to an area that they know nothing about. And that whole team shifted focus right over to that area and became very successful at making those. And I believe that that is truly the spirit and definition of innovation right there. So first, I have to say very clearly, the people who earned the award are certainly not me. I'm just lucky to be a spokesperson for them. So obviously, thank the Association of Washington Businesses, for giving us this award. That's a wonderful opportunity. And absolutely, positively thank the people of Shields in Yakima, Washington for the great effort and work that they did, all the way from the plant manager right down through to everybody who works on the line. Everybody was important to making this work and making it work as quick and rapidly as it did, which I think we're being honored by this award for all that hard work. So special thanks to all those people. Also, thanks to the leadership in Novolex for believing in this group that put this whole thing together and saying, we support you, go do it, go figure it out, go spend some time, effort, and money. So that was also a very important portion. So really a thanks to everybody within Novolex for making this happen. And of course, the people who voted for us.
Congratulations, Novolex and the entire team. Today we're joined by Scott Houts, the Regional Director of Operations for Novolex. Scott, first of all, congratulations on the Innovation Award.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for the look. It's been good for us. We've got the trophy right here.
Outstanding. Great looking trophy, by the way. Hey, talk to us about your decision to make PPE this year. How did you get there?
So believe it or not, it wasn't really a corporate decision. It came down to, we got a lot of requests early on from different avenues, some through corporate, some through different email traffic, to see who could help in those areas. And our team, actually, the local team in Yakima, wanted to do something to help. Everyone was a little worried early on during the pandemic, so they were looking for a way to help, and they dove in and figured it out, and that's how we got started.
Well, share with me. I'd be curious to hear, what are your customers saying about this?
So we had a huge wave of orders early on in the pandemic. Everyone was in a panic, so we got through and made as many gowns as we could early on. We ramped up, we bought a lot of equipment, we moved a lot of equipment around from different places. And our customers, things have started to calm down with our customers right now, so now they're looking longer term. So we've got a lot of customers that are trying to figure out, what are they going to need next year? Where are we at? How can Novalex help in the years to come with all PPE, not just gowns?
Well, speaking of next year, what's your sense of demand, either both kind of near term, the next 6 months, and longer term? What are you seeing?
So near term, with just specific with gown and gown film, we've got requests out there for anywhere from 1.5 to 2 million pounds a month. So that's really kicking off, and that's going to run through the end of the year and probably through the first 6 months of next year. And then there's other PPE our company's doing with face shields, which has been pretty steady through the year. And then we're looking at, next year and the year beyond, we're looking at what else people need and what we've got to pull back into the United States to start making here.
I'd be curious, what's surprised you and your team as you've gone through COVID and making PPE?
The weird thing that not much surprises me anymore. I've been around a while, but the one thing that really did surprise me was our team members, all the way from our operators, our maintenance team. When this first came into play, it really wasn't in our wheelhouse. And I watched our employees daily meeting and talking and text chat rooms throughout the evenings, sometimes up till midnight, trying to figure out what they could do. And with all the negativity that's going on in the world today and with the pandemic, it was just refreshing to see them dive in and try to help. They did it all because they wanted to help the community first. It's a very hospital health-oriented community in Yakima, and a lot of our team members have family members that work there. So that's kind of what got them going. And then when they realized they could help everywhere, it sparked an interest in them. And it's crazy how when somebody asks us for something that seems outside the box, they get excited and they just dive in. So the passion and the innovation have been really strong in Yakima.
Scott, it's great to hear about your commitment, your employees' commitment, and more importantly, their care and compassion to their fellow man to make this product. What's your advice for somebody that might be thinking about making a similar pivot, whether it's making a part of a PPE product line or an entire PPE product? What's your advice to another manufacturer?
Well, I think all manufacturers are going to be faced with something over the next couple of years where we're trying to pull, as much as we can back into the state. So look outside the box. Don't shut down just because it's not something that's in your wheelhouse. Throw things to your employees. Let's find out what they think we can do. The power is in our employees, just like all of our guests have talked about this today. That's where the true power lies. And it's just amazing what we can do if we really put our minds to it. And there's going to be a lot to do over the next couple of years.
Boy, Scott, in this period of time, we're trying to make it easier for companies to grow and expand, for companies to remain involved in the communities they serve and do the great things like yours that you're doing. What could the legislature do to help support Novalex more? What could it do to help support manufacturing more?
So they're already doing some, but I think we need to remember and continue to, from a maintenance standpoint, from a technical standpoint, we do get grants every once in a while through the colleges and through tech schools that are there to help us get some good folks in the door. We got to continue to train our employees that want to get into the tech world and want to get into manufacturing. We got to give them a way to get some education. What's happening now is those colleges are reaching out to us and they're helping our actual employees we have now. We're helping them with classes throughout the day, and instead of working, they go to our classroom and they go through training through the colleges. And I think that's all coming from the legislators and them caring about manufacturing moving forward.
Scott, this was a very competitive field to be the winner in the Innovation Award. Congratulations to you, to your employees, and the entire team at Novalex. Thanks for being with us today. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of today's viewers who joined us. This is day 2 of the Manufacturing Week Live show. We did it. We looked at the future of construction and building design, talked with some inspiring women leaders, and several outstanding Washington companies that are creating jobs, making personal protective equipment, and making our state a great place to live, work, and play. Boy, manufacturing is more essential than ever. It's been on full display here today. So stay tuned for tomorrow. We've got another great lineup that includes the president of Walla Walla Community College, a look at smart grid technology, and a conversation with the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. And we're going to announce the winner of the Green Manufacturing Year of the Award. And 2 last things to Cole Michaels, whose birthday is today, who wants to do a vlog and get into mountain climbing. Happy birthday. Your mom misses you, but she's here on set. To Logan Johnson, happy birthday, young man. Thanks again for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We're adjourned.